the jar that saved a family. What if the difference between peace and panic, between losing everything and holding steady, between despair and survival, was nothing more than a simple jar? What if I told you that wealth often begins not with lottery wins, inheritances, or Wall Street brilliance, but with the quiet discipline of ordinary people? People who choose to save when everyone else spends? Would you listen? Or would you laugh, like so many laughed at a man named Thomas, who once kept a humble jar on his kitchen counter while the rest of his town mocked him for being too frugal? Thomas lived in a modest American suburb, the kind of place where every lawn was trimmed, but every driveway seemed to have a new car on display. He worked at the post office, an unglamorous, steady job. His colleagues were friendly enough, but they lived by a different code. Each morning, they paraded into the office with steaming cups of $6 lattes. At lunch, they ordered takeout burritos, salads, or sushi, spending without a thought. When Friday came, the parking lot glittered with freshly leased cars, their debt as polished as their paint jobs. But Thomas was different. Each morning, while his co-workers tapped their credit cards at the cafe across the street, Thomas carried a brown paper bag. Inside, a sandwich, an apple, sometimes leftovers from dinner. His coffee came in a dented travel mug, brewed at home for pennies. "Come on, Thomas," they teased. "Life is short. You can't live on peanut butter sandwiches forever." One even joked, "You'll die with money in the bank and regret on your face." The room erupted with laughter. Thomas only smiled, his reply quiet but steady. "Maybe, but if tomorrow comes, I'll be ready." They didn't know about the jar. It sat on his kitchen counter, plain glass, nothing fancy. Each day, Thomas dropped in the money he would have spent, a crumpled $5 bill here, a handful of coins there. At first, it looked laughable, almost childish. But weeks turned to months, and months to years. The jar grew heavy. Eventually, he deposited its contents into a savings account, then into a high-yield account, and later into simple investments. He never skipped. Rain or shine, temptation or mockery, the jar always grew. His wife once questioned him, "Tom, maybe we should treat ourselves. A vacation? New furniture?" He took her hand gently and said, "We will, but not with money we don't have. I'd rather sleep on this old couch in peace than on a new one in debt." Their daughter, Emily, rolled her eyes as a teenager when friends bragged about the newest sneakers or gadgets. Yet years later, when college bills came due, she understood. Because while her classmates begged for loans, Thomas quietly paid her tuition, dollar by dollar, jar by jar. Then came the recession. It started like a whisper. News anchors muttered about falling markets, layoffs, tightening credit. Then the whisper became thunder. Factories closed. Hours were slashed. Mortgages defaulted. Families who had lived paycheck to paycheck suddenly faced eviction. In Thomas's office, laughter turned into silence. Once mocked his lunches, now wept in the break room as bills piled up after her husband lost his job. Michael, who had leased a new SUV every 3 years, now panicked when he realized he couldn't keep up with payments. Credit cards maxed out, interest rates soared, and the walls of comfort collapsed around them. But Thomas, he was calm. He had an emergency fund, enough to last months without panic. He didn't fear the credit card company. He owed them nothing. He didn't worry about his daughter's tuition. It was already covered. While others scrambled, Thomas stood steady, shielded by years of quiet choices. The jar once mocked had become his fortress. And here is the truth. Saving is not about denial. It is about design. You are not punishing your present self. You are protecting your future self. Thomas wasn't joyless. He simply chose long-term peace over short-term pleasure. In first world countries like the US, UK, and Canada, temptation is everywhere. Starbucks cups in every hand, $15 lunches eaten without a thought, streaming subscriptions stacked like bricks, gym memberships never used, the latest iPhone bought on installment plans. Each small expense feels harmless, but together they are a leak that sinks the ship. Statistics show that nearly 60% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency. Yet the same households spend more than that on coffee, takeout, or unused subscriptions every year. What if you turn that waste into a jar? Skip one $5 coffee a day. That's $150 a month, $1,800 a year. In 10 years, without investing, that's $18,000. Add even modest investment returns, and it grows to tens of thousands more. Imagine what $50 a week saved could do in 20 years. A down payment, a college fund, a safety net. The modern jar takes many forms: automatic transfers to a high-yield savings account, roundup apps that stash spare change, retirement contributions deducted before you see your paycheck. But the principle is the same. Pay yourself first. And yes, the world may laugh. Friends may wonder why you don't upgrade your car, why you bring lunch to work, why you cancel unused subscriptions. But when the storm comes, and it always comes, the same people will look to you for help. Because the feast fades, but the jar endures. So I ask you, what's in your jar? Do you have an emergency fund? Are you saving for opportunity or only spending for comfort? Do you want to build a future of peace or gamble on hope? These aren't just questions for Thomas. They are questions for you. If this story touched you, then don't let it end here. Subscribe to Money-Making Tales. Because every week, I bring you stories like this. Stories that carry money lessons inside characters you won't forget. Hit like if you believe saving is a habit worth spreading. Share this with someone who laughs at saving today, because one day they may need the wisdom of this tale. And tell me in the comments, would you have mocked Thomas?